Hi there, traders. This is Brad Gilbert with the FX Market Insight for Friday, the 25th of January. All right, now we've had a few things cruising around overnight. There's a couple of major shifts, and it's mainly on the Aussie and Kiwi. So the Aussie, let me just run through this. Then we had some slightly better employment numbers. Now, the Aussie dollar at the time was trading in the middle of nowhere, so it wasn't really a cracking opportunity. No technical levels. The data itself was just slightly better than expected. But the main thing with this was it led the last of the big four banks in Australia to raise their home loan interest rates. Now, the other banks had raised them in September. So basically, that's like an interest rate hike across the board for all the homeowners. Now, we know the housing market in Australia is a very sensitive area that the RBA has been talking about. And as much as the RBA has been saying the next move in rates is up, to warn everyone, there is pressure now on them to potentially start cutting rates to offset the home loans. So this is going to be very interesting to see how things go. The Aussie dollar, I mean, you can see how sensitive this is, dropped from 71.60, almost 100 points, or not 85, 90 points, down to 70.70. And this is going to be a developing story. Now, if you missed the opportunity yesterday, well, don't be upset. I mean, I didn't see it till after it happened either. But the fact that this is in the market now is going to create some really good trading opportunities for the Aussie. The Aussie data will now become electric. The central bank will be on watch, and we have to wait to hear what they've got to say. So the Aussie's breaking down, but we still haven't got the confirmation because no one at the RBA has actually spoken about anything yet. We have to wait for their follow-up, but it does look like we could have some good trading opportunities coming up. Kiwi, sideways, nothing really to write home about. At this stage, especially there's no real Kiwi direction. We had the very, very slightly better CPI data earlier in the week. So that slightly positive tone is now being filtered into the market. It's now sort of just trading sideways. If anything, under a little bit of pressure with the Aussie coming off. Dollar yen is slowly cruising into a bit of a wedge, as they call it. And you might see a bit of a break to the top side or downside. I don't think it's really going anywhere at this stage until we find something out about these US fundamentals that we've been missing. Euro is really come alive, okay? And all we needed was the ECB president, Draghi, to come out and tell us, basically hint that growth was deteriorating, it's weaker, and in the whole Eurozone. Basically, this puts a bit of a kibosh on any sort of change in them rolling out, the QE and everything else they've got going over there. It's all a little bit loose. Don't forget, there's a whole heap of political unrest across Europe, which is sort of just simmering away. To me, Euro is the best trading pair at the moment. And even looking at that at the moment, I'll come into this and I'll show you in a minute. I've actually just put a sell order in at 113.21. This is on the next best trade watch list. You'll be able to see that. Now, it's a fundamental picture because we've got Draghi telling us that there's no growth and things aren't really cruising so well over in the Eurozone. And then we've got these technical breaks on the hourlies and really coming up to the dailies. So, we've got some German IFO figures coming out later today. They could be the catalyst for the move lower. I think even if the IFO numbers come out strong, Euro isn't going to go up high. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out, but I'll show you the NBT shortly. Of course, Sterling, Brexit, you've heard it all before. They're now sort of moving back towards, a positive outcome for the UK, whatever that means. But for us as traders, this thing is kicking higher. As I said, I've been saying all week, it could go up to 135 very easily. Now, I'm not long Sterling. It's very hard to get into this thing, and I've been churned up over the last year on Sterling. So it's more like, I'm just like a little bit bitter on cable. I want to see something very clear before I get too involved. Funnily enough, any strong fundamental releases now out of the UK should push this thing to the top side. You're very brave getting short of these levels. Just looking at dollar CAD, you've got the oil there back to 53.85 or 86. So it should put a little bit of downward pressure on dollar CAD, which it is just in the short term. But overall, we've had we've got a situation where we've had weak Canadian numbers, sort of pushing dollar CAD higher, and a strengthening oil, which is pushing dollar CAD lower. So to me, this is really heading into a sideways moving market. That's exactly where it is. So when you come back to piece it all together. I'll just give you a quick look at the news so you can highlight the major events here or major focus. Now, once again, believe what you can read here on sterling. Sterling rallies as a report stirs hopes for May's new Brexit plan. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. I wouldn't be surprised to see it drop 200 or 300 points and then rally 200. It's the same old story with that. Aussie dollar, if you've got Zenith, check it out. I mean, the Aussie dollar will come under pressure. This is going to be a really interesting phase for the Aussie dollar going forward. As I said, we could have some really cracking opportunities. Now, China, there's a whole heap of weird stuff coming out about the US-China situation. There was talks from some maniac in the US Trade Department, whatever it was, saying they were miles and miles apart with coming up with a plan. So just be aware, the US dollar at the moment with no fundamentals is really sort of just chopping about the place. And if I just come over here, give you a look at the dollar index, well, all we're doing here is adjusting the support lines to the new lows every couple of days. Okay, it is slowly going up, but this isn't the US dollar really moving. It's euro and sterling moving, right? So to me, the US dollar is just trading sideways until we start to get these US numbers. Nothing really to me is worth sort of focusing on the dollar side of things. Dollar China, the offshore yuan, well, it's starting to move back down. So you'd think there would be some sort of positive outcome for China because it's starting to, the yuan is appreciating, but once again, this is all cloak and dagger behind the scenes, so it's very hard to work out what the hell is going on. All right, now let's just have a look at the upcoming data and what we've seen coming out. Now, the Japanese CPI numbers, don't get overexcited about the Japanese data. It's very, very low impacting, even the very high impacting data. It's been the same way for a long time. But just coming back down here to the what's coming out sort of going forward, you've got all these US numbers you just got to get past. It's just a bit of a nuisance that they are, on the sidelines and giving us very little direction with the US dollar. So looking at the major numbers sort of coming out of the market, there's really only Europe, which has got some numbers. It's the German business climate numbers. So the IFO, right, very good historical number and used to move the Deutschmark in the day very aggressively. So just keep an eye on this as we go forward. As I said, if it's weaker, well, then that's the death knell for me for euro, and we should see euro just drift back down towards 111.5 or somewhere down there over the course of the coming week. All right, so that's where we are with the US numbers. You can see the dollar index is chiming away. So just coming over to the MyFX Trading Hub to give you a bit more of a summary of everything that's up there. So the major currency pair outlook. Okay, so the US dollar, to me, has no direction. We've got no fundamentals coming out. We do have the Fed next week. That'll be interesting to see what they've got to say. They will be on the sidelines like us, I would expect. Now, the US dollar just floating sideways. And that's got dollar yen, dollar CAD, and dollar Swiss all just floating sideways. We are starting to see some of these individual currency pairs like euro. Okay, Draghi's, I think, given us the signal to get short euro. So I'm bearish euro technically and fundamentally. The Aussie, well, technically it's breaking down. So I'm mildly bearish there, but we haven't had any confirmation from the RBA or anything else. So I'm not overly, I'm sort of on watch for the Aussie, put it that way. Sterling, of course, just cruising to the top side, but with no real plan or levels or anything to get in there. And that's where we are with the data. Now, if I just scroll down a little bit further, I'll show you this setup here on the next best trade. Now, what I'm looking for is I'm just selling euro at 113.21. I'd say I was just kicked in there before. When I was talking, I saw it just pop up to sort of 113, sort of in the low 20s. That should go to live. This is, as I said, I've got it set up as a technical trade. It is moving lower sort of because of the fundamental aspect, but I'm thinking this thing's going to cruise to the downside. And because, euro is, well, Draghi's a bit bearish or dovish on the euro, we don't have the US dollar component. And so with this trade, I have gone in with half the trade size that I would normally have because I don't have the full picture on the US dollar. But you know what? It's enough at the moment. Euro has been looking sick for some time. And I'd be very disappointed if I didn't get short after what Draghi was talking about. So that's where we are with the next best trade. Now, with the just a quick update as well, I've updated the rules of the trading program and updated the calendar. Now, this is reasonably significant. So what we want to do with the upcoming releases is really keep you in the loop to what's coming out, so you can see the potential trading opportunities, but actually not restrict those opportunities. Like the German IFO business numbers, for example. Now, these are a good number, historical number, but, the market doesn't get hugely volatile around the release. So to me, this is more of a just to alert you that the data's coming out. We have gone into a new color coding system where the red numbers, okay, very high or extremely high impacting. You have to be flat for those and wait 30 seconds after the release to trade. The other ones, the orange numbers, basically you have to be flat before the release, but you can trade straight away. Now, to give you a full summary of that, okay, if you look at the legend down here, you'll see the details on the calendar itself. But even more so, if you come over to the trading program rules, go down to Rule 7, you'll find the full explanation of the rules themselves and what it means for you as a trader going through the practical assessment. All right, so there's a bit of that, guys. I think there's some promising opportunities here in Euro. It's a shame, the biggest shame, and this is just ongoing, there's no US data. So really, okay, we're missing the biggest piece of the puzzle. That's a bit of a bummer, but as I said, we are starting to get some movement here on Euro, and I would expect something out of the RBA very shortly. So I'm bearish and watching Aussie. No real levels at this stage. Where the Euro, I am feeling very confident or comfortable just to get short something in this at the moment. So the German IFO numbers, that's the highlight for today, guys. Not much else going on. Keep an eye on the US political scene. Even if they do come up to resolve the government shutdown in the US, we have to see the numbers before we, know what's going on. So there's no big deal. If they do come out and say, yeah, it's all over, well, it doesn't really change things at this point. All right, guys, that's it from me. I'll see you in the 247 trade zone. Cheerio.